new share?
New share? No, you're good.
Oh,
unless you want to go.
Because we're already.
Yeah, we don't need to go full screen though. You're coming in. We're gonna go back to you. Stop sharing screen. Stop sharing. Coach Hutch, you're live.
We're in. Hey guys, Neil Hutchinson here from the Harvard men's lacrosse staff. Real quick, Steve Flanagan and Jim Scully, Coach Bergman will be joining us remotely, so we might not have a TBA production slide in here. But I want to thank all you guys for joining us today. A little bit rainy here in the Northeast, but excited to watch a clip that Coach Byrne shared with you guys yesterday. And then we will talk a little bit about the coaching points that kind of come along with it. So with that being said, again, just how yesterday kind of worked out. If guys want to ask some questions on the side in the chat, feel free to do that. Coach Byrne is actually running the side chat. So if guys have questions with anything that's being mentioned in the clip, feel free to ask away, and then we'll kind of go through a drill at the end of it. And if there's any additional technical questions or anything like that, feel free to ask away. So with that being said, we're just going to jump right to the first clip that Coach Byrne shared yesterday. We're going to watch the first possession of the Redwoods defense against the Chaos from the PLL playoff game, and I actually really enjoyed the playoff format that the PLL had this past season. But real quick, just want to talk about to start off Miles Jones here with the ball. All right, so you got Miles Jones up here with the rock. All right, one thing that Miles Jones does, all right, before anything really, is he's able to kind of shift his dodge. All right, so before, still trying to get used to how this eraser will work. All right, so he's up here on Pat Harbison. Again, a little bit of a size mismatch here. Again, I think Miles Jones is probably about 6'4", 215, 220 maybe. Pat Harbison, a really good friend of mine. He's probably about 5'9", 5'10", maybe, but he's got a heart of a lion, so he's going to try and get up there and guard him as best he can. All right, so from an offensive standpoint, if you're Miles Jones, you want to look at this and figure out what's the best opportunity you have to be successful against Pat Harbison. So, especially a possession early in the game, you might want to be a little bit more patient and see how the defense is playing. You guys, whether they're going to slide from the crease or slide adjacently, or they're going to hedge. You want to try and figure out all types of answers on your first possession, so you kind of know what you're looking for later in the game. So here, Miles does a great job. He caught the ball, right up here where my mouse is, about 5 yards, probably north of where this PLL coach or Redwoods coach is. All right. But when he does this, now he gives himself a really good angle to attack the goal, and he kind of gets his answer here from how Pat is going to play him. All right. Some of the off-ball action, all right, that the Chaos is doing here, all right, is occupying, all right, these three guys from the Redwoods, all right, and making it so it's pretty difficult for them to help in on Josh Byrne here inside. And kind of going back to Miles's dodge right here is when he gets to this point right here. All right, let me rewind this. All right, he's coming in here to try and block, all right, and try and seal off, all right, Pat Harbison right now. All right, and that's going to make it a little bit harder for, I think that this is Garrett Epple, all right, to read if he's going to have to slide or not. All right, so when he gets here and kind of seals him off, all right, he's thinking that he might have to go. All right, and he's beat, all right, but you're trying to read, all right, is Miles, is he selling shot right now? All right, and if he goes, all right, and he slides, there's really no support on Josh Byrne on the inside here, all right, which is going to make it a little difficult defensively. So Miles does a great job earning a step, all right. From an offensive standpoint, again, it's to try and make sure that you're comfortable with what you're doing and what you're teaching as a player, all right. So Miles might want to turn his left shoulder, and that's what we would kind of talk about as a dodger, of trying to ride, the rail almost to this pipe here, all right, to the back pipe so that you're kind of giving yourself every angle that you can. All right, and that's going to almost lead you to running right at this sliding defenseman. All right, because at that point, he's going to have to make a decision. Do I go or do I not go? All right, and that's going to allow you to make your decision. All right, at this point, all right, Miles is kind of he completed his dodge. All right, you can see he's looking to move this ball forward here to Connor Fields, which that's a great decision. Again, another extremely talented player at this level. So a couple options that Connor has back here. And again, Coach kind of talked a little bit about the pipe play from Matt Landis here yesterday about being on the pipe that you're on. So one thing that Connor can do to really mess with Matt is to kind of vary where he is. All right. So if he sets up on, the ball side pipe as to where Miles is dodging and Matt Landis is sitting on this ball side pipe, something that a guy like Eric Law was a killer at, out of Denver for a couple of years and still does, but he can then sneak to this backside pipe right here, which makes it really easy for him to get to that spot. So if he gets, right behind Matt's head, it's going to be very difficult for Matt. And it's also could potentially open up an opportunity for Miles to get to, this island right here and look for a late turn in, which, you can walk right to the front of the cage at that point. All right. But since they don't, he gives it up. This is great. You're continuing to play offense. You still got 36 seconds left on the shot clock, which is great action to start off. Now you want to continue to play. All right. And because of this pressure, all right, that now Epple has to get back to Josh Byrne inside, bumping Glaze to the backside here to guard Miles Thompson. All right, it opens up this skip lane, all right, to Fricaro top center. All right, and one of the concepts that we're going to talk a little bit about here later is the shot show. And this is going to kind of really help, kind of free some defenders and really makes their approaches a little bit more difficult as opposed to if you're just kind of catching with your stick and having it down by your hips. All right, so as this skip happens, again, Fricaro's a little bit outside the screen here. All right, but you can see right here, he's kind of starting to wind up. All right, and for offensive coaches out there, offensive players out there that are watching, one thing that you can do is, you don't need to have this heavy plant right here, but if that's what you're comfortable with, then that's what you should continue doing. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're not allowed to really heavy plant. All right, the one thing that you do want to do is you want to make sure that you are selling a shot. All right, because that's going to get, I believe that this is Brian Karalunas defensively. That's going to get him committed to you thinking that you're shooting. All right, so if he's got that and he's selling out to try and block that, right at this point, all right, there's a great opportunity for him to kind of, right to right jab and kind of accelerate through this stick head and look to kind of run through his stick. All right, and he could probably get a shot off by about 8 to 10 yards inside the 2-point arc. All right. But this is a great defensive approach. And at some point, as an offensive player and offensive coach, you got to realize that defense sometimes does get the win. All right. At this point, you can still see there's plenty of time on the shot clock. So you got 27 seconds left. All right. There's no time to panic and no need to panic right now. You can still run plenty of offense, all right, especially with 30 seconds left. And you got a lot of talent on the field here from the Chaos. All right. So, again, Coach Byrne kind of called this a little bit of a deception yesterday. So these two guys defensively get occupied by the two Chaos offensive players, all right, which allows, again, another pretty challenging matchup here for Pat Harbison against Miles Jones in a small space. All right, so we just created, or not we, the Chaos just created a temporary 4-on-4, all right, in this small space. All right, at this point, all right, Coach talked about Pat Harbison trying to make this a double move for Miles Jones. All right, and again, we can do that, but one thing that we want to do if we're Miles Jones is we want to read and evaluate this slide guy here, Garrett Epple. All right, so as we get here, again, we can see Garrett Epple starts to stand up a little bit. All right, maybe he thinks that he's going to go. All right, so if you're Miles Jones, and one thing that we can do here is take this contact and try and accelerate through and see if we can get to this soft spot here. All right, that, you can call it whatever you want to call it, the front porch, the dirt, A lot of coaches will have names for this area in front of the crease. All right. But if he can look to turn this down, all right, this gap right here, he's going to get something good. All right. Out of that, we come out of this roll. And one thing that we want to get is we want to make sure that as an offensive player, we have our hands free and our eyes free so that we can see everything that's happening. Because what most defenses will do is as Garrett Epple sees the back of your head, he's going to come, all right, almost right away. All right. So we want to make sure that we're trying to, make sure that we can get our hands free. We might be able to shoot coming out of this roll if there's not a great defensive standpoint. So at this point, all right, when we start to dodge, again, at this point, he's leaning on his guy. All right. So what Pat Harbison's doing is not necessarily deterring Miles Jones from getting to a certain point. All right. But Pat Harbison knows that he's got a support coming behind him. All right. So he's always got Garrett Epple, all right, is in this slide roll right here. All right. And you can see now Pat's hands are really high, all right, above, Miles Jones' shoulder. So Miles is going to be able to win this matchup and kind of determine where he wants to get to. All right. When we come out of this roll here, and again, you can see some of this off-ball action that's happening. All right. So Josh Byrne is flashing inside. You get Kevin Buchanan is flashing behind. All right. When we get to here and we come out of this roll, again, we have our hands and we have our eyes. All right. And this is one thing that we're going to talk about here in a little bit is the deep carry skip. All right. When we talk about our drill that we're going to do. All right. When we come out, we want to make sure that when we're seeing our slide guy, we know that he's kind of freed up. All right. So you can see that Epple's here. All right. So we have him committed to us, even though he's not really committed to a slide. All right. He never got to our hands. He never got ball pressure. All right. So when we come out of this, all right, we know that we're going to at least be able to have one open guy. All right. And if you feel pressure on your hands, you're going to have an outlet behind you in pretty much every offense, and you're going to have an outlet in front of you in every offense. All right. So when you come out of this, all right, number 2 does a great job here on the backside. So Miles Thompson, you can see he starts to kind of cut in here a little bit. All right. But he realizes that this is a really congested area with both Josh Byrne and Buchanan right here. So he just holds his spot. All right. And he's in a wide open spot right here that if we get to this opportunity and we see this skip pass through the defense, all right, this is cash money, 10 times out of 10. All right. A couple instances that happened later in the game that I as I was watching this, I felt like these would be great opportunities to share with you guys of some of the coaching points that came from that first clip. All right. So this one's going to be the shot show that we just talked about. And you can see right here. So the chaos is a man up right now. So 6-on-5. All right. You can watch Fracaro, see how he's winding up. He's getting ready to shoot this. All right. You can see Brett Adams' approach now is one hand on his stick. So now this is a great opportunity to, potentially dodge this if this were a 6-on-6 in that situation. All right. He might be able to right to right. He might be able to catch and split out of this. All right. The opportunities are endless right here from an offensive player. All right. We share the ball because we're a man up, which is great. All right. Again, you guys are going to see 2 more different instances of a shot show here with 2 more different kind of cause and effects. All right. So Josh Byrne, lefty scorer on the wing here. So when he catches and winds up like this, all right, this kind of commits this defender. It freezes this guy defensively. All right. That allows Miles. And you can see the difference with Fracaro's first one with the heavy plant from his lead foot. All right. Miles Jones right here, not so much a heavy plant, but he gets around, all right, this approach and goes towards the cage. All right. And that's the most important thing with this shot show, because if Miles Jones were to come out of this and go east-west, then John Sexton would be able to help this approach right here. All right. This is a great job by Miles Jones continuing to catch, run through this after the shot show. All right. And from any guy that's out there that's 6'4", all right, I think you can ask Timmy Troutner. If they hammer this one overhand low to the corner, it's a really, really hard shot to track. All right. And you can see, obviously, they get a goal out of that. All right. One more opportunity that happened later in the game, all right, is at this point, all right, this is Sergio Perkovic dodging, all right, from the Redwoods. All right, it's going to be the same scenario basically that just happened. So Miles Jones had the dodge on Pat Harbison. All right, he got right in front of him. All right. And he kind of had that lead shoulder that was kind of protecting his stick. All right. This is Brody Merrill, one of the best defensemen in the world, ready to slide and support. All right. Just like Garrett Epple was on the backside. All right. At this point, you can see that Ficcaro's got his hands in front of Sergio. All right. So when you have that happen and the slide, you know that if you hit the brakes and roll back, that this guy's going to overrun his kind of defensive responsibility. So at that point, when Sergio rolls, all right, and you guys are going to see this happen, both of these guys will be outside of Sergio. All right. So they're both kind of chasing. Sergio does a great job here of protecting his stick and keeping it between his shoulders, away from the defenders, and he uses his body as a shield at this point. So again, just like we saw when Miles Jones came out of his role, we see this skip pass to Matt Cavanaugh on the backside. All right. And at that point, all right, he's got his hands and his eyes free, two guys committed to the ball. And you could see this 2v1 between Matt Cavanaugh, number 34 from the Chaos, and Joe Walters. All right. Handles an imperfect pass. All right, and this is a great one more opportunity where Joe Walters can look to climb upfield to increase his angle to score, which he ends up doing when he catches the ball. All right, so those are two more instances that just happened alone. All right, based off of those two instances that I wanted to talk to you guys about with kind of the action within the action that we just saw there. So as you can see now, again, I want to open it up to some questions about the clips before we hop into the drill. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to chime away. If nobody has any questions, I'll just kind of jump right into the drill. All right, here we go. I might need Coach Corrigan's help here to hold the camera. All right, but all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to call this the Chaos stick work drill. All right, and again, it's based on we just watched the Chaos play offense. So if I was their offensive coordinator, all right, this is something that we would do. It's going to be a small part offensive drill. We're using 3 guys offensively. You can use a 4th guy. We'll walk through that here in a little bit. But there's going to be a huge emphasis on the dodging, the footwork, stick work, and ultimately communication. All right, and then we're going to add a read and react component to it once we kind of get comfortable with it. So how the drill is going to start. So we have number 3. All right, he's going to be where the balls start. All right, if you guys want to do this with the goalie in, you guys absolutely can. This is up to your preference as coaches. All right, 3 is going to make the first pass here to 4 or to 2. All right, and then 2 is going to immediately look to kind of share the ball over here to 1. All right, and when we talk about footwork, it's not just with our dodger. All right, it's with everything. So how this guy catches the ball, triple threat, opens up his hips, and gets the ball to his teammate over here. The quicker we can get the ball there, the better. But if you don't have great footwork and the ball ends up at this guy's ankles, it's not going to be a great drill. All right. Number 1's going to catch this. So think about Miles Jones on his dodge. All right. As he attacks the corner, again, everybody talks about the attack island. All right. Right around 5 and 5. All right. So we're talking about a midfield island right now. All right. So as this guy dodges, all right, he gets to about 7 yards. Let's say you're a very, very strong right-handed player. All right. And you don't have a great strong left hand. All right. There's no real need for you to roll away from pressure here, all right, to throw a transfer pass. All right, what we'd rather see you do is kind of bear in a little bit to get your chest towards the cage to allow yourself to make this pass at an easier angle. All right, so we're going to give you guys that opportunity to go either way. As you come out of this roll, all right, so we do roll to our left hand. All right, we're going to make this skip, all right, that we just saw Sergio make to Matt Cavanaugh. All right, this is kind of the opposite version of it. All right, and then we're going to add our what we call one more communication. All right, so when you hear one more, all right, you have to respect it. All right, so that guy knows that he can see it. So number 3 is going to be calling one more. So he's the guy that starts the drill. He's going to be the guy that finishes the drill. All right, so when we throw this ball here to 2, all right, he's going to catch it, give a shot show. All right, and then he's going to hear that one more call from number 3. All right, so as number 3 comes up the hash a little bit to receive it, he's going to catch, get his hips around, and he'll see the cage. All right, so it's very important that number 2 is selling shot as best he possibly can. And if you're number 3, you want to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to convince number 2 that you have a better shot than he does. All right. Last thing that we can do here to kind of incorporate a little bit of a read and react component of this, all right, is we can add 2 defenders. All right, so we'll add one on the backside, all right, and one kind of as the slider. All right, and as Miles Jones was dodging here, all right, he was doing a really good job of controlling this slider here. So this guy's got the ball. He's starting to dodge. He's really attacking the goal. He's doing a good job of leaning on his guy. All right, when this guy starts to commit is when we want to make our decision, roll away, all right, get our hands and our eyes free. All right, at that point, now we're going to read how this defender on the backside is playing us. All right, if this defender is aggressive and flies out to number 2, it's going to open up the skip through here to number 3. And number 3 wants to find that lane on the backside. All right. Other version of this is, let's say he stays low. All right. We want to come out of this and we want to find that adjacent pass right here. All right. To number 2. All right. And then what's going to happen is the same thing that just happened is this guy defensively is going to fly upfield. All right. And we're going to get that one more call from number 3. All right. What number 3 wants to do is make sure that he's not just following directly behind his defender. He wants to make sure that he comes around and creates a passing lane from number 2 to number 3. All right, so that's what we're going to call chaos stick work. All right, it has a couple elements of shooting, dodging, some stick work, and a little bit of that shot show that we just talked about. So looks like we got a couple questions here. Got a couple of our guys chiming in, which is great. Max Aiken asks, on the shot show, what footwork technique do you guys teach, specifically after player hitches and is getting loaded for a time and room shot? So, Max, that's a great question. I think one thing that you want to make sure that you're emphasizing is you want to try and stay balanced the whole time. So if you have a really, really wide foot kind of base with this, where your feet are way outside your hips, you're not going to be crazy athletic and crazy explosive to get away from your defender. I'd rather see you, work on if it's you kind of catch the ball right-handed. You want to have your, right foot is going to be your plant foot really to get if you're going to go right to right. So as you plan with your right foot, your next step, or plan with your left foot, your next step should be with your right foot to try and get there. And then you want to use your left foot to try and seal and kind of wall that guy off. Very similar to how Miles Jones did against Pat Harbison on the initial dodge. So when we kind of wall that guy off, we're able to use our body as a shield. So does that answer your question, Max? Cool. Steve, we do not actually have a actual practice video of us running this. This is basically what this is a drill that I would have done if I was the offensive coordinator or coach of the Chaos, and I think it's something that we're going to definitely incorporate with our offensive skill work in practice. And I think that we can definitely once we get this up, we're going to put this on YouTube. But once we film this as a drill in practice, we can definitely tie this in and marry it up with the same film that we're doing right now. And Steve, you asked, explain the shot show plant foot. Is it a jab step? So it can be kind of a jab, but a jab, a lot of times you kind of have your stick low, you're kind of catching it on the backside. What different people define as a jab is different. So I just want to make sure that we're being very clear. So a shot show is we're winding up, catching the ball loaded, getting here. And at that point, I can make every decision where I can feed the ball, I can shoot the ball, I can right to left split, I can right to right jab, and go back in the direction that I was going. Hopefully that answers your question there, Steve. So Dan and Gabe, or G. Clavins, both asked, can you introduce defenders in this drill? And this is totally up to you guys as coaches for your programs and what you guys feel the best fit is. But if you want to, there's absolutely, you guys can work on approaches from a defensive mindset with your, close defensemen or defensive midfielders, LSMs, whatever it might be. This could also be a great opportunity for if you have just your offensive players. This could be a great opportunity for your offensive middies to play defense so that they can see, what works against them or what doesn't work or what do they find difficult defending or what do, because that's going to help them, kind of develop their skill set offensively at that same mindset. But you can absolutely use defensemen in this drill and it'll kind of help make your whole team better. If this is, if you have 15 to 20 people, this could be a good thing there. So the goal of the drill is offensive ball movement and vision. I would say absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely a focus of the drill. The overall, emphasis of the drill is to kind of you're getting your guys comfortable to how you're playing offense. And I think that's an important part of it because whatever we might not know as coaches, it doesn't matter if the players don't know. All right. So the way that you teach it's got to be, really, really detailed and important there. So how you want the initial dodger dodging is important, and how you want the guy that we had number 2, that's the skip pass. Having those guys in the spots where you want them and what simulates parts of your offense, I think is really, really important. So if you're running an offense pretty similar to how the Chaos were running it, this is a great drill for you guys to run in practice. It involves, 3, and this can be pretty rapid fire where the next guy comes in and, the guy that was number 2, you kind of follow your pass where you go from the dodger. Now you become the guy that starts the drill, and the guy that starts it, you become the transfer pass to the dodger. And if you were the transfer pass, you now become the dodger. So it's a way to get your guys kind of moving through every single aspect and developing them in every single aspect of your offense. Any other do I think this drill can be done at a high school level? I think that this drill can be done anywhere from a middle school level to a high school level. Absolutely. And I think it just takes, I don't want to say patience, but it just takes the ability to have, if you guys can have a half of a field or just really the restraining box area to do this, I think that's really all you need. I think that's an important thing is being able to base this off of what fits your offense. So just got a question from TJH. In your first example, a smaller player like myself, what could the midfielder have done better to contain Miles? That's a great question. It's definitely challenging. I think, I think understanding that, how your defense is playing is important, but always understanding that you're going to have an opportunity for a support behind you. So you're always going to have somebody ready to slide. And I think that, with that being said, if you get up there and I don't want to say make it personal with him, but get up there and make it difficult for him to really dodge you. So don't get up there and let him run really hard one way. Because that'll just give him a free run. I think Coach Byrne talked about that a little bit from a defensive mindset yesterday of channeling. And if you give him a free run one way, he's going to take it. And I think that's the right thing to do offensively. So one more question here. It seems like Jones is setting up the dodge so that he goes down the alley for a rollback. That's what your drill emphasizes. What do you suggest of the middle or of the midi dodge if the midi dodges topside? Is this a push and the others rotate the opposite way? That's a great question. So if we were to set that up, and the midi dodged kind of towards you, all right, you have kind of 2 options, all right, or you have a couple options, and it depends on what your offense does. So with a lot of the high level offenses, you'll probably have the opportunity to pick. You'll have the opportunity to clear through. You'll have the opportunity to fade or drift kind of in front of that, dodger. So with that being said, he could even just clear through and replace behind Miles. He could, push forward and be an outlet in front of Miles. And, that next attackman's got to make a decision on what to do since he's 2 passes away. So if he sees somebody drifting and fading towards him, that would be a great opportunity for that guy to kind of clear through, if that makes sense. So How do you encourage a big physical Dodger to take advantage of his size? Where do you want him to go? You talked about facing the defender to make that throwback. Any other advice? So Steve, I think I can answer the first part of your question of how do you encourage a big physical Dodger to take advantage of his size, and where do you want him to go? At least from an offensive standpoint, I think you want him to be able to get to a good spot that he's comfortable with. And it's not going to be the same spot for everybody, but I think a big physical guy like I think Miles Jones put a lot of pressure in his clips when he got, or in those clips, and I'll go back to him. All right, but he put a lot of pressure when he got to. So as I go back to this share screen element right here, all right, so when we got to this point right here, and Miles Jones was right here, this is where Apple started to show a lot. All right, so when that was happening and he's kind of in this tight range, all right, so you want to try and get to, what the attack island right here, or, I think it's very challenging for any defense when you get to the middle of the field. And I think that's something that an offensive player can do, especially with his size. So any other questions out there? All right. With that being said, we'll get this posted up to. With that being said, we're going to kind of go to a brief pause here, and then we'll be back on at 3:45. So we got 13 minutes until Coach Corrigan comes on with the early offense talk. We'll be right back. Trying to figure out how to mute us.